suddenly invading her reverie. The voice is familiar and remembered fondly, but it causes the image of the dance to slip away from her fragile little mind into the mist of her forgotten self.
Nothing!
Came the response to the question. And far as Linda could be sure of, nothing was now the truth.
Your favorite person is coming to see you in a few minutes. Is there anything you want to do?
But before Mother could finish that sentence, the doorbell rang.
Oh, that's her.
And she hurries out of the room and leaves Linda in her now confused state. She would look at the many pictures around her feminine little desk. Pictures of her time in the theater and her many friends from the Human Resource Center where she spent her days separating nuts and bolts and gadgets and whatchamacallits for the contracted businesses outside her factory-like workshop. This time, her eyes caught hold of the dance shoes on the shelf in the walk-in closet. And Linda could feel herself on stage again, sitting on the bench with a red-headed elfin man with thick glasses, holding his hand in a romantic clasp, and with one eye squinted shut, began her part of the duet. The singing was a struggle to articulate with her classic thick tongue, a trial at times to overcompensate. But in Linda's reverie, she would morph into a Hollywood version of herself and command the stage. When the dance was done, when I went my way, or when I tried to find rainbows far away, all my wildest dreams multiplied by two, they were you, they were you, they were you. There would be loud laughter in the other room, and the reverie would descend around the corner was indeed the old friend, the woman that had been with her from the beginning of the discovery of her innate genius for the stage, the woman that nurtured her through the poems and the songs and the dances and encouraged her to open your mouth and say the words clearly, as Linda would recite daily, a phrase mimicked from her theater mentors. Conversation went on its usual way of catching up on past events and the stories of the visitors' trip to New York and its theater and back again. Linda sat half listening, for her mind found it harder these days to put all the things said by all the different speakers to make this coherent picture, a picture that would match the pictures in her theatrical trunk of a head. The words Broadway went across her hearing, and someday I'm going to be at Broadway sailed out of her lovely little mouth. Well, that's what I came to talk about, said the familiar woman, loving the innocent segue to her next request. The musical that Linda wrote last year for the theater company, well, was one of the things I showed the Broadway Theater League on my last visit. I had my DVD with me, and after showing Linda's musical, there was a unanimous yes for the musical to be produced in New York with Broadway actors as a fundraiser. Well, the room was alive with delight over the news, except where Linda sat. For Linda was still trying to recall what Broadway was. Someday I'm going to be at Broadway, Linda lovely called out, then closed her one eye and cocked her petite head. Well, yes, said amazed and slightly worried Mother. I don't believe it, but I guess you are. Linda began to dance with her arms again as she had done before, and this time the visitor sang slowly to help her remember. Out of my dreams and into your arms I long to fly. The trip to New York was planned to take 3 days. Linda's father and friend boasted how they could do the trip on their own in record time, with the last boasting that it was done with a straight shot with short breaks. Regardless of feet, Linda's mother ended the banter pragmatically with, Linda has a weak heart and bad hip. 3 days will be just fine. And And that was that. Linda stared out the window most of the trip, lost in the clatter of voices and memories. The scenery rushing by moved too quickly for her to comment on as she would on previous trips. Linda was not burdened with self-imposed filters in place that would keep the innocent observation of the world from blurting out, something that quite enchanted the red-headed chauffeur. And humorously, the chauffeur would try to solicit a response from Linda about these very same past blurbs. For instance, she told of a time when Linda's theater company was on tour, and as the company van passed these two young men walking along the road, as it passed, Linda shouted out, "I'll take the blonde, you can have the brunette." Or she would see out the window and say, "Look at that canoe over there, let's put that in the show." Linda was often finding things and bits of human behavior fantastical enough to want to put in every show she was a part of. "Yes," said Linda as the driver said, "Let's put that in the show. Let's put that in the show." "Let's put that in the show" became the trigger phrase for the rest of the trip, and the van's community humorous pastime, although not shared by Linda. Linda was much too serious of late. It took all her energy to focus on her mission, a mission that was completely obscured from the rest of the travelers. The moon was low in the sky, opposing the sun's disappearing. This was a clue that the second day of the journey should come to an end and let the weary travelers rest. "Look, Linda, the moon is speaking up in the sky before the sun sets." Moonlight drifted out of her mouth, and a memory rose. She sees herself sitting in a box. The red-headed woman is behind her, moving to her movements of her arm gestures. Or was it that Linda was responding to what she saw in her peripheral? Never mind. The voice behind her spoke, and Linda echoed the poem. At night, I climb a ladder to my house, a tree. Linda gestured in dance-like movements to the poem. The moon was like an owl's eye, staring down at me. The gestures were being acted out in the back seat in time to the rhythm of the reverie, and everyone took notice immediately. The red-headed visitor looked through the rear-view mirror and began to tear. It was their first performance piece together. Everybody watched in silence as Linda continued to move to the movements and the poem in her head. Then the driver put the van to sleep and gently ended the poem. I knew my dream this moonlit night would be the very best. Well, to Linda's surprise, the reverie melded into the world of the van. She threw her arms up in the air with abandon like she had always done and echoed, "Very best!" The fans applauded. Linda responded, "Someday I'm going to be on Broadway. Out of my dreams. La 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 la. La 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 la." Questions that came up to actors or director/choreographer were being directed to the old friend and now assistant, and feeling the awkward discomfort in the room, stated, "If you have any questions about your characters or bits of business, please direct them to Linda." And that was that. A question flew to our lovely creator. Linda, I have a question about one of my lines, and I wanted to know if you would see if I was interpreting it correctly. Said a young man in black jazz pants with a t-shirt sporting the title, A Chorus Line. He backed up to show Linda his interpretation. "I love you, Judd. You amaze me. I've done this before. I walk away from Judd." And the actor did the hand gesture that Linda insisted was always put in the show. "And I don't believe you." Well, Linda's eyes widened. She saw it exactly performed the way she always seen it in her head. star for some time now and surprise everyone who witnessed. He's really good. Let's put that in the show. The audience roared with laughter through the whole show, and they applauded loudly at the end of each musical number. And the plot? Simple. Imagine. The back door of a little red barn opens. Enter a choreographer dressed in black jazz pants and a corresponding teacher. A local community theater director with a cowboy hat and a guitar. Booth, where are you? Can you hear my voice? Scott, I'm trying to hide from Louisa. I gotta get with somebody else. I don't know. She has a magic apple. She needs a prince, and it ain't gonna be. She wants a prince. I want to wince, 'cause it ain't gonna be me. And so on and so on and so on. Enter! I want to correct you. I am not Matt. I am a choreographer. I make a special dance for musicals. You will always be my man when I'm ready for a new romance. I love to poison the people I love. It is the only way they'll love me. And so on and so on and so on. Run away! And there's a hilarious chase around the stage with a wheelchair and the choreographer hums. I shoulda, listen to the old gypsy. I love you, Judd. You amaze me. I've done this before. I walk away from Judd, and I don't believe you. Stepdaughter, I don't love Judd. Will amaze me. I want to put my arms around him and begin to sing finale. La la la, a happy ending. La la la, a happy day. La la la, let's have a wedding. La la la, let's run away. Shabooping! The audience roared and went wild and rose to their feet, whistling and bravading at the joy and simplicity and beauty of the vision of this little woman. A woman that too many people in this world see as a mistake. And Linda rolled her walker to the center of the Broadway stage and stood quietly as the applause crescendo. Her music in her inner self. She could feel the dance shoes around her neck like she wore in her own production. She was Laurie, her dream role. The man in the cowboy hat could have been Curly. The man in the wheelchair could have been Judd. In Oklahoma, Laurie has to face her dream turned to nightmare. Linda had to instill her dream. And somehow, everyone in the place knew this. Some unexplained truth was realized all at once, and the entire hall leaned forward and held their breath. Linda rocked her arms backwards and forwards to the inner musical vamp until she had to sing now, before it was too late. So she opened her mouth and sang. Out of my dreams and into your arms I long to fly. And out of my dreams I'll go. Linda looked out over the sea of her present colleagues as they began to stop their accompaniment into a dream. When you, as a ride out of music in her head came to an end, Linda raised her arm to the final chord in a room full of silence, and as if she felt the tap on her shoulder, Linda!